Have you ever felt like you've prayed and waited so long that nothing will ever change? What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, God is whispering to your heart, "I have a surprise for you. Something wonderful is coming." And what He's about to do will completely change your life in ways you never imagined. Keep reading, because this message is not by accident. It's your divine appointment with breakthrough, favor, and miracles that will leave you speechless. Life has a way of testing our patience, stretching our faith, and sometimes making us believe that the very prayers we whispered in secret or cried out with trembling voices in the middle of the night were forgotten, ignored, or delayed indefinitely. But what God is saying to you in this season is something that should fill your spirit with renewed courage and ignite your hope like a spark that sets fire to dry wood. Because He is whispering into your heart even now, "I have a surprise for you. Something wonderful is coming, something you have been waiting for, something that will change the way you see your journey and remind you that I am faithful and that I am always working behind the scenes, even when you do not see the evidence yet." There are times when your eyes look at your circumstances and all they see is limitation, all they see is lack, all they see is rejection and delay. But God wants you to know that the visible world is not the final story, that the things which you see today are temporary and fleeting, while His promises are eternal, unshakable, and unstoppable. And what you need to hold on to right now is not the disappointment of yesterday or the fear of tomorrow, but the confidence that the God who created heaven and earth, the God who keeps the stars in their places and calls them each by name, is also keeping your life in His hand, guiding you step by step toward a divine surprise that is greater than anything you could imagine, design, or prepare for on your own. God's surprises are not like human surprises that may leave you unsure or fearful. His surprises are drenched in love, they overflow with purpose, and they carry within them the fingerprints of His glory. And sometimes what He brings into your life will not only bless you, but will also bless generations after you. For He is not a small thinker. He is not limited by your salary, your education, your location, or your connections. For when He says, "I have a surprise for you," it means He has already arranged the details, already spoken to the hearts of the right people, already shifted circumstances in ways you cannot comprehend, so that at the appointed time, the doors will open, the chains will fall, and the breakthrough will manifest. Maybe you have been walking through a season of waiting, where each day feels the same, where prayers rise but answers seem silent, where others move ahead but you remain in the same place. And in those quiet moments you have wondered if God even hears you, if He even cares. But let me remind you that every single tear you have shed has been noticed. Every sigh of your heart has been recorded, and every prayer you thought went unanswered has actually been stored in the chambers of heaven, ready to be poured out in divine timing. Because when God promises to surprise you with something wonderful, He is not speaking of a small blessing that you can explain by human effort, but of a blessing that will leave you speechless, humbled, and full of awe at His goodness. Consider how God surprised Abraham and Sarah, who thought their time had passed, who believed that the promise of a child was no longer possible. Yet at the very moment when their faith seemed thin, God showed up and reminded them that His word never fails. And in the same way, He is preparing to surprise you with something that will cancel every doubt and silence every voice that told you it could never happen. Think of how God surprised Joseph, who endured betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment, who probably felt forgotten, but suddenly the doors of the prison opened and he was lifted to the palace in one day. And God is saying to you in the same manner that a sudden lifting, a sudden breakthrough, a sudden reversal is on its way, and it will not be delayed because He has already decreed it over your life. When God says He has a surprise for you, it is not only about material blessings, though those will come. It is about the restoration of your joy, the healing of your wounds, the peace that replaces sleepless nights. the relationships that mend, the opportunities that align, and the purpose that begins to shine more clearly. And the wonderful thing is that He does not just bless you so that you can sit in comfort, but He blesses you so that you become a testimony, a walking reminder to others that God is real, that God is faithful, that God does not abandon His children. And when they look at you, they will see the evidence of His surprises written all over your life. Do not think that because the enemy has been attacking you harder in recent days that you are losing, for often the greatest attacks come right before the greatest breakthroughs, and the intensity of your trials is a signal that something wonderful is near. And though you may feel like giving up, God is whispering to you, hold on, keep pressing, keep trusting, because the surprise I have prepared for you is closer than you think. And once it comes, you will realize that every struggle was shaping you, every delay was positioning you, and every closed door was protecting you. So rise today with renewed confidence, shake off the heaviness of despair, lift up your head and remember that your story is not over, your season is shifting, your breakthrough is nearer than your breath, and soon you will testify that the God who promised has indeed surprised you with blessings that you could not have orchestrated on your own. And when it happens, give Him glory, share your testimony, and know that He who did it once will continue to do it again and again, for His love is endless and His gifts are without limit. God is telling you, I have a surprise for you. Something wonderful is coming, and it will not just change your circumstances, it will change your heart. It will increase your faith. It will draw you closer to me, and it will mark this season as the beginning of a new chapter of favor, joy, and abundance in your life.
When you think about surprises in the human sense, you might imagine unexpected gifts, sudden phone calls, or events that arrive unannounced and change the rhythm of your day. But when you think about the surprises of God, you must understand that they are orchestrated from eternity, planned with precision, designed with love, and delivered in the exact moment when you are most ready to receive them. Because God is not careless with His gifts, He is purposeful, and His timing is always perfect, even when to your human eyes it feels delayed or uncertain. And the truth is that He is never late, He is never early, He is always right on time, because His clock is not like yours, and His perspective stretches far beyond the short horizons of your current struggles. The surprise God has for you is not a random event or a coincidence. It is the unfolding of a divine script that has been written long before you knew how to pray. And though you may have questioned the detours, the closed doors, the betrayals, the seasons of silence, every one of those moments was part of the preparation. Every pain was shaping you, every delay was protecting you, and every unanswered question was carving out space in your soul to contain the magnitude of the blessing that is on its way. And once it comes, you will look back and realize that nothing was wasted, nothing was pointless, and nothing was in vain, because God was weaving even the smallest details together to create something extraordinary. You see, God does not just give ordinary gifts. When He surprises you, He gives you what eyes have not seen, what ears have not heard, and what has not entered into the heart of man, because He delights in exceeding your expectations, in going beyond what you dared to ask, in proving that His love is bigger than your imagination. And the wonder of it is that this blessing is not only for you, but also for everyone connected to you. For the surprise of God flows outward, touching your family, your friends, your community, and even those who doubted you. Because when He lifts you, the light shines so brightly that it cannot be ignored, and others are drawn to it, compelled to ask, what changed? And then you will point them back to the one who said, I have a surprise for you. It is important that you understand that the enemy is aware of this coming surprise, which is why the last season of your life may have felt heavier, darker, more complicated, and more painful than you thought you could bear. Because the closer you get to the breakthrough, the louder the resistance becomes. Yet the good news is that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No scheme of the enemy can cancel what God has ordained, and no amount of opposition can stop the surprise he has already planned. For the decree of heaven outweighs the accusations of hell, and the command of God silences the lies of the adversary. And this means you can rest assured that what is for you cannot be stolen, cannot be delayed forever, and cannot be blocked once the time has arrived. Think about how often God has already surprised you in small ways. A door that opened when you thought it was closed forever. A healing that touched your body or your mind when you were weak. A connection that came into your life just when you needed it most. A provision that showed up at the last moment when resources were low. And if he could surprise you then, what makes you think he cannot do it again on a greater scale? For he who was faithful yesterday is the same today and will be the same forever. And his goodness does not run out. His mercies are new every morning. His plans are not exhausted, and his blessings are infinite. Which means that your best days are not behind you, but before you, and the surprises of God are waiting to meet you as you walk faithfully step by step. What you must do now is not to worry, not to give in to fear, not to let anxiety steal your peace, but to prepare your heart, to position your spirit, and to align your faith, because the surprise of God is attracted to expectation. And when you expect Him to move, when you speak life over your situation, when you declare His promises, even in the face of discouragement, you are building the runway for His miracle to land. And soon it will not just be something you hope for, but something you touch, something you see, something you live in, something you testify about. And then you will remember these words and smile, because God has kept His promise. I have a surprise for you. Something wonderful is coming. And do not forget this truth. God's surprises are often bigger than what you specifically asked for, because while you may be praying for just enough strength to get through the day, He is preparing to give you joy that overflows for years. While you may be asking for a small financial provision to pay the next bill, He is setting up streams of income that will change your future. While you may be pleading for one door to open, He is arranging multiple doors and new opportunities that will take you further than you imagined. And while you may be seeking healing for one area of your life, He is preparing wholeness that covers your body, your mind, your relationships, and your spirit. For His ways are higher than your ways, and His thoughts are greater than your thoughts. So right now, even before you see the evidence, even before the surprise appears, take a deep breath, lift your heart in gratitude, and say with confidence, Lord, I believe. Lord, I trust. Lord, I know you have something wonderful prepared for me. Because gratitude before the blessing attracts even greater blessings. Faith before the miracle invites even greater miracles. And surrender before the breakthrough invites even greater breakthroughs. And as you walk with this posture of faith, the days ahead will reveal to you that God has been preparing not only a surprise, but a destiny. Not only a gift, but a calling. Not only a blessing, but a transformation. And soon the world will witness the evidence that the one who promised has indeed fulfilled His word.
And what you must realize, beloved, is that the surprises of God often arrive at the very moments when you least expect them, at the very intersections of life where you are weary, worn down, and perhaps even tempted to give up, because He delights in showing His power not when everything is already aligned according to human logic, but when circumstances appear impossible, when the door looks permanently locked, when the resources seem too scarce, when the opposition looks too strong, because it is in those moments that His surprise shines the brightest.
so that no one can ever boast that it was human effort, clever planning, or earthly strength that brought the breakthrough. But rather, everyone will have to acknowledge that it was God Himself who stepped in, God Himself who moved mountains, God Himself who orchestrated the turnaround, and God Himself who turned the tears you cried in secret into joy that will overflow in public. There is something extraordinary about the way God surprises His children, because He does not simply hand you what you asked for and leave you there, but He adds an overflow, a measure that is pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And when He does it, it becomes not only an answer to your prayer, but also a testimony to others, a beacon of light that draws those who are still doubting, still wondering, so that they too may come to know that He is real, He is alive, He is faithful, and He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that the same God who surprised you with His goodness can also surprise them, if they would just trust Him, surrender to Him, and wait upon Him with the patience that knows His promises never fail. Perhaps today you feel as though the delays have lasted too long, the waiting has become unbearable, and the promises of God are distant echoes rather than living realities. But I want you to pause and look deeper, because sometimes what looks like a delay is actually preparation. Sometimes what feels like denial is actually protection. And sometimes what appears to be silence is actually the space in which God is arranging a surprise that will be greater than you dared to imagine. Because He is not limited to your timeline. He is not pressured by your deadlines, and He is not moved by the ticking of the clock. For He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows the exact moment when the gift He has prepared will intersect perfectly with your life. And when it happens, you will know without a doubt that it was Him, because it will happen suddenly, swiftly, beautifully, and powerfully in a way that cannot be explained away. Think again of the many stories written in Scripture, for they are not simply historical accounts, but living testimonies meant to encourage you in your own journey. How the Israelites thought the Red Sea was the end, that their escape from Egypt had led only to death, yet God surprised them by opening a path through the waters. How Daniel thought the lion's den was a death sentence, yet God surprised them by shutting the mouths of the lions. How the disciples thought the cross was the end of their hope, yet God surprised the world by raising Jesus from the dead. And these stories are not just tales of long ago, but reminders that the same God is still alive, still powerful, and still working in the lives of His people. And if He did it for them, He can and will do it for you. So do not give up, because your surprise is on its way. And I want you to picture it, to imagine for a moment how it will feel when the phone call comes with the news you have been waiting for, when the letter arrives with the opportunity you have prayed for, when the diagnosis is reversed and the healing is confirmed, when the door that was closed suddenly opens wide, when the relationship that was broken is restored, when the financial burden that weighed so heavily on you is lifted, when the heaviness in your heart is replaced with laughter that rings loud, and in that moment you will realize that the God of heaven has smiled on you, that the Creator of the universe has remembered you, and that the words He spoke are true. I have a surprise for you. Something wonderful is coming. But do not forget, child of God, that the greatest surprise of all is not merely the external blessings, not just the opportunities, the wealth, the healing, or the restoration, but the transformation that happens inside you as you walk this journey of trust, as you learn to lean not on your own understanding, but on His wisdom, as you grow stronger in faith, as your heart expands with compassion, as your patience deepens, as your perspective shifts from earthly to eternal. Because every surprise He gives you is not only meant to change your circumstances, but also to change you, to draw you closer to His heart, to shape you more into His likeness, and to prepare you for the even greater things He has stored up for your future, both in this life and in the life to come. So hold on, beloved. Do not grow weary. Do not give up now. For you are closer than you think, closer to the miracle, closer to the breakthrough, closer to the surprise. And what God is telling you even now is that your season of mourning is turning into a season of dancing. Your season of barrenness is turning into a season of fruitfulness. Your season of lack is turning into a season of abundance. And your season of waiting is turning into a season of fulfillment. Because His word cannot return void, His promises cannot fail, and His love cannot be diminished. And as you stand firm in faith, you will soon declare with your own lips that the Lord has done marvelous things, that the Lord has been good to you, and that the Lord has indeed surprised you with something wonderful. Amen.